Welcome to Perspectives, and with today's show is a really interesting show. We have teenagers with us today from Weston High School. Usually this show highlights local and national politics, issues that we are concerned about around our nation, specifically concerning minority issues, but today is a really inspiring show with kids who have done a lot of volunteer work and some amazing work with refugee camps. So I'd like to first of all thank you, Afnaan and Daanish, for joining us today. Before we're getting started, can you tell us a little bit about, what it is to be a teenager at Weston High School and what is it like, just so that we can understand why you got so interested in doing some volunteer work.
All right. I guess I'll go first then. So being a teenager at Weston High School, it's just, especially being Muslim, people ask me all the time, is there, you're a Muslim, does that have any, is there anything specific about that? Do you feel any different at school? And it's really, I've known these people for the past 8-9 years. We have about 1,100, 11,000, 12,000 people in our town. So, it's a very tight-knit community, and, it's an experience being a teenager. I haven't lived through it yet, so I can't, talk back on it. But, just homework. Winter season's coming up. You can see I've been doing some PT for my ankle, coming up for a basketball tryout, so, just preparing for that. So,
right. And what about you, Daanish?
So being a year younger than Afnaan, I've basically gone through everything he's gone through. He gives me the tips and the tricks through everything.
Homework.
Yeah, all the homework and everything, all the
basically typical high school stuff is what I'm hearing.
Basically, yeah. So there's really nothing that we do differently other than, what we do with the refugees. Our normal teenage lives, we play sports, we have friends, we hang out with friends, etc.
So both of you being Muslim, I'm understanding maybe, how many Muslims are there in your high school?
Counting us, well, there's about, I would say, eight, yeah.
Maybe, I think so.
Okay, so a minority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I found out that you do such interesting, great work. Could you tell us a little bit about, first of all, before we go into the work that you did with refugee camps, what got you interested in doing this work?
Right. So, well, everything always, before it gets to much, broader spectrum, everything starts off smaller and starts off, more locally. And so, Daanish and I, when we were little, when we, when we were
Say middle school, before middle school, a little
right
bit.
Before middle school, when I was in 6th grade, there's this, this beautiful food pantry in Roxbury, right near the big masjid at ISBCC. There's Mosque Masjid Alhamdulillah, and they have become a fully authorized food pantry with the food bank here in Massachusetts. And so they've been running this, and it was kind of our first taste of what it was like to work with those who are less fortunate. And Daanish can tell you a lot about this as well, but some of the first things, for our first day there was a little squabble in the line, because someone was afraid they got skipped.
Okay.
And these bags are, how much do you think these bags are worth?
It's about $15, $16 maybe.
That's about one pizza order, right?
Right.
If you were to order, a large cheese with wings or something. But for these people, this is their survival. This is how they feed their families.
Right.
And just to see that here in Boston on a local level is, that's really where it began, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You hear stuff everywhere else. Things are going on all across the world, but until you see it in your local neighborhood or 15-minute drive away from you, only then can you say that, oh, there is poverty going on here. First, let's address that and help that out first, and then go to a larger scale.
So what you're saying is the experience of helping people out at a food pantry, but not only that, knowing that it was somewhere close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Was really
Right.
what affected you.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Would you recommend other students to do this then? Some people do believe that if they travel over an hour, it's really not in their community, it's somewhere else. But you're saying within 15 minutes is what really caught your attention.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you recommend to other high schoolers or other middle schoolers?
Right. So exactly that. Being close to home and seeing these things, doing this work, we live in almost like a bubble-like society. Have you seen the
Yes.
the old Simpsons movie? Do you remember when they put the dome over the city? It's like that in a sense, right? And getting us
Some communities more than others.
right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
our community, Weston especially, is I guess you could say a perfect example of that. We don't have many examples of, we don't see much of that in our town, but kids aren't exposed to that until you have to go, it's really going outside of your comfort zone. At first it's really awkward and it's hard to go and to serve at these places, but it benefits, I think, personally much more, as much as you're willing to, it helps, when you go to help the other person, it helps you just as much to see really what's going on.
The thought that you're giving somebody and helping them live their life gives you that good, warm feeling of, oh, I helped somebody today, and whatever good deeds that they do, and if they help somebody else, that's also coming from you. So it starts a chain reaction. Anything good that they do, it all started with you. So
Right. So what you're saying is once you get this good feeling of giving, it's almost contagious and
Right.
addictive.
Yeah.
But that leads to my next question. So you went further than just a food pantry. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So, years later, when I got into high school, I became a freshman, and so we have, at our school, a Muslim Student Association. It's very small. We have about like 7, 8 kids in it, but it's a Muslim Student Association nonetheless. And there's influences from that. Our youth group at the mosque, Wayland Mosque. We've always done these smaller food drives, and what happened, so my dad, there was this group that came to our masjid for a fundraiser, and they called themselves the Syrian American Medical Society. And my father went with them on a mission trip. And he sent us pictures, and he came back, and he told us, the first night he went there, actually, we were on the phone with him after the first night, and he told us he cried because of, what he saw there. And you see all these things in the news, but it's so distant.
Right.
That you just really don't understand it until you can go and see that. And he told us, you guys can't understand this. You don't see this. And my mom said, well, why can't they see it? Why can't they go and why can't they contribute to, why can't they help out? And so, next thing we knew, my mom had put, together a trip that we were going to go on. And so we sent out, all these notices.
It was like 23 bags the first year,
Yeah,
23 bags full of clothing and stuff that we gathered from our local places. You can talk about that.
So we with help from all the local congregations, a lot of the temples and churches helped. We got stuff from our school, our masjid. Everybody from, it was great because we had all these different communities that contributed to this, and we packed everything up, put them in 27 suitcases, and there were 70 pounds.
It was,
So
yeah.
Turkish Airlines, it was amazing that they allowed us to take so many extra bags. And, have you ever traveled before with that, okay, not 27 bags,
Yeah.
maybe 4, 5, 6 bags.
It's a lot.
Have any of them gotten lost before?
Yes.
We made it there with all 27 bags, which is amazing. And, all the way, we actually were in Turkey for a while beforehand, and the bags were at the airport for like 4 or 5 days, right? And so, just the bag getting there was a blessing. But when we brought the suitcases to Jordan, it was really about the idea of gathering everyone together and just all these different communities coming together so that they can have an impact on these refugees living in Jordan.
So let me ask you a few questions before we move further on into your experience. First of all, you said the Syrian American Medical Society came to talk. Now, why was it close to home? Are you Syrian? Do you have relatives in Syria? Why did it hit home?
Right. So relative-wise, we're not Syrian. Our father's Pakistani. Our mother, she's a mix of all these, I don't know, European, Native. She's something. I don't know. And so we're not Syrian, but it hit close to home because, when my father went on this trip, he was affected by it, and by him being affected by it, of course, we're going to be affected by it, and so it was really more of a sense that, we wanted to become, after seeing everything that was going on, we wanted to become a part of it.
And kind of adding on to that, it's just because, you don't have to be 100% connected or blood relatives of, that certain race or etc. They can be, far away from home, but as soon as you see the connection, you see their suffering and their pain, and you want to help out, that's definitely, your opportunity to go and help out there.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, like I said.
Well, kudos to both of you because many people sometimes it hits close to home because they share the same ethnicity or nationality or have relatives in that country. But kudos to you to see beyond that and see the humanity and work for this. So going further into your story, you were saying Turkish Airlines helped you. How did you get Turkish Airlines to accept that you were going to bring all these bags overseas?
Right. So it really boiled down to, I guess, the humanity. And so when we called them and we said, first, can we bring 27 suitcases? They were like, are you crazy? Like, who are you? Like, are you like, you just get like rent a moving truck, And then further, conversations with them, we're bringing this for the refugees. And Turkey, I mean, as you know, themselves have been, affected by this. They've taken in hundreds of thousands of refugees. And so, they recognized that what we were doing was, we weren't trying to, bring tons of, our own stuff, to Jordan. It was, stuff that was a collective whole from different communities and that we were bringing with us. And so it was,
So what was checkpoints like that for 27 suitcases?
Not the easiest thing, but
Right.
you get through it in the end, just knowing where it's going to end up, getting through that, patience, you need to have lots of patience, especially to get through all of those bags. But in the end, it's all, clothing and necessities in there.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to stop you for anything that you're bringing over for them.
And how many people went with you with these bags?
So it was our family. So I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. There was us, our 2 parents, and our 2 grandmothers that went with us. And it was just a lot of, it was a good amount of people.
So it was a whole family.
It was a whole family.
Volunteering.
It was, a lot of people called it, the Qureshi expedition. It was great traveling with our family. And also it was a little bit chaotic too, but it had its moments. When you all pile into a van and you just have, the back load of the suitcases.
So you guys now are in Turkey with your family, 2 grandmothers, parents, your siblings, with 27 bags. Where did you go? Where did you store this?
Well, so the thing is, the bags, we left those we stored those at the airport. But generally, even if you store like a good amount of stuff at the airport, it tends to get lost somehow.
Right.
They
Or
ended
misplaced.
up misplaced. They ended up, being very well accounted for. So that was great.
What did you guys collect in these bags for 27 bags? What were you asking the congregations to donate?
It was like a lot of Vaseline, diapers, clothing, any type of clothing, from female,
Especially
large
infants.
infants.
Yeah.
A lot of infant clothing and warm clothing, because especially in the winter, in the desert, it gets extremely cold.
Yeah.
Very
You
cold.
wouldn't expect it. You hear the
Yeah,
word
it's a
desert.
desert, and
You
you
hear
don't
desert,
expect
and
it.
you're like, you expect it to be hot and sunny, and it's, well, so so it's freezing there at night, especially in the winter, because the ground, it just doesn't retain any of that thermal energy. So it's just super windy and it's super cold, and it's just.
And they don't have any insulation either. That's the thing. Their
Yeah.
tents are not made out of the best material. They have a small wood stove maybe, and some people don't even have that. So any layers, anything that they can put on is needed.
So did you go visit these camps?
We did, yeah. And so when we say we visited camps, there are 2 types of refugee camps. There are the official documented UNHCR camps, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. They're the ones, so to become a refugee, it's actually a process. You have to go across the border, you have to be registered as a refugee. And I mean, throughout that, then you get vetted and actually put into these, you get put in actually certain areas inside of these camps until you're confirmed to be, a safe person and that you are, you become documented. Most people actually just, they're so poor and they're in such a dangerous, area that they just jump the border, and they call those little settlements random camps.
Okay.
Well, that's the literal, that's how they translate it literally in Arabic. But they're so they're not looked after by anyone. But the organizations that do look after them are these NGOs, and so these are the worst of the worst camps. And I mean, when Dad went to Sam's, I mean, he worked in the UNHCR camps.
So there they don't really have any. They do have some form of organization, but it's really all, refugees that just came over. So there they have what Dad saw in the medical camps. He saw people with all sorts of blisters and warts from all sorts of burns and everything from the war that's going on.
Right.
But that's the camps that Dad went to. That was more the medical camps that they needed. They needed medical professionals. The camps that we went to were more of, they were more nomadic, and they just came about a year ago, a year in the past. So they don't know that they're going to stay there. They don't know how long they're going to stay there. They're just trying to, what they think, their mindset is, we're going to stay here, we're going to wait till the war's over, we're going to go back. But the way that it's played out in the past is they stay there for a good amount of time.
Right.
And they don't know that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep them well prepared for the years to come by giving them all these things. And Afnaan can talk more about et cetera, and what they've done and what they've said to us for giving the clothes. But it's preparing for the future, really.
So you're going to Turkey, looking after Syrian refugees.
We went to Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah.
On Turkish Airlines.
Yeah, Turkish Airlines.
To go after and look after Syrian refugees.
Right.
But you have a language barrier, do you not?
Right. So we do have a language barrier. But so the thing is, one of the things about traveling to Muslim countries is one of the everybody knows the phrase "Assalamu alaikum," right? Peace be with you. And we know a little bit, very little bits of small conversational Arabic. Most of it is really just kind of like the tacit understanding. When you're giving someone something, it's more of the actions that they understand. And in fact, I found it more meaningful that there were no words to communicate with. It was all just, you're there and you look them in the eyes, and there's just this sense that you get of gratitude, and there's just it's much more powerful.
No, that's a very moving point that you just made. That sometimes the emotions and the feelings and the actions speak louder than the words. And as teenagers, looking again beyond the language is kudos to you guys to be able to do that. Now, when you did go to refugee camps, what were the kind of, if you can share with us some incidents, some experiences that you had that really moved you, changed you, gave you a better idea of humanity or a refugee?
Okay, so it's just a quick little story. So when we first arrived at one of the camps, we were looking around, we saw the schools and everything. It was a small school. We were looking around the camp, we saw all the tents and everything.
Of course, school is in just a tent with,
Kids on the ground?
Right.
Not much protection from the wind or anything. But anyway, so we were looking around, and then these kids who looked like to be our age, they invited us over to play soccer. And soccer in every country is football.
Right.
So they just said football, and we were like, oh yeah, we understand. So we went over, and so the ground is all dirt and rock and sand.
And it's not just a fine sand; it's a very, very it's like a rocky sand.
It's like a soil sand kind of.
Yeah,
it's hard to explain, but anyways, so it's just rocks. So rocks are everywhere, and so we were like, how are we gonna play soccer on these rocks? The ball's gonna either get popped or it's gonna move when we kick it. So they were halfway through a field that they were just clearing rocks out of the middle, and they were putting the rocks on the side to build a barrier. And so the initiative that they took to build this was, we thought, oh, if they're here, and if they think that they're gonna, move in a couple of years anyways, then why are they building this? They're building this, first of all, to do something and to have fun. So we joined in, we helped them clear the field, build the field, and so after we were done, one kid went to get the ball. And so it's on the rock, it's on sand. We were expecting, the ball's gonna be tattered and torn. It was a second-hand ball anyways. It was gonna be, a not very good quality ball, but we'll play anyways. And so actually, when the boy brought out the ball, it was shiny, it was clean, it was new. And this ball was given a while ago, so it's not like it was a new ball. It was how well they take care of the ball. And how it's, if you had the ball, you're the king, people want to talk to you, etc. So how well they take care of the ball is just amazing.
The universal language of soccer, I guess.
Well, so it was really a couple of the main things that you really take away from it is that these kids, they subconsciously understood that they're going to be stuck in this situation. I mean, building this field is like their message of saying, we know we're going to be like this for a while. Like, they know that they're stuck in this, that they can't, there's nothing they can do about it as kids, right? And it's interesting, like when Daanish brought up the soccer ball, I mean, the way that they treasure these soccer, they just treasure that one soccer ball. I mean, imagine, they don't have any pumps, they don't have any way of, I mean, how they keep it clean, and how, the way that the kid came out holding the ball, he was holding it like this across his chest. And it was
secure and
very secure.
Close to him.
And it was, at first, it was interesting because the kid, he walked over slowly, and he looked at everybody and he slowly put it onto the ground, and then he passed it to us. And that's like just the way that he did it. It was a very, very, we didn't speak, we don't speak Arabic.
It was his treasure.
It was his treasure, and
Yeah.
he was offering it to us.
Yeah.
And just one other thing about about that, when we we went and we visited these, we were welcomed into the tents. They're very, very hospitable, very nice people, and I was, it was really interesting that they were so happy. They were smiling, and they brought us in, and in some tents they actually gave us tea, and of course you don't want to take tea, but to refuse tea is almost an insult, right?
Right,
So,
in the culture.
In the culture, right? And so you take the tea and you sit there and the translator, you converse with them, and so later, actually, I have a quick story that
No, please share.
one that actually really resonated with me. So the other camp that we went to, that was much more recent. It had been established about 2-3 years ago, while the camp that Daanish mentioned with the soccer ball had been established 5-6 years ago. So this camp that we went to the following day, one of the tents we went into, there was a family there, and every family has about, at least I would say, 4 or 5 kids, if not 6, 7, 8, which is a decent amount of kids, and especially compared to here.
Right.
And so what we found was, that everyone was huddled inside the tent. We actually had medical professionals that were called, so we followed the medical professionals, and we found out that there was this little girl who had just passed out from a seizure 15 minutes before we came in, and she was lying there unconscious. And the parents, they were sitting, they were on the side, they were crying, and we found out that the translator told us, that was the youngest girl, and she has 4 older brothers that are they're all mentally handicapped in some way, and all their ages were pretty much about the exact same of our families, and that's really interesting. And then we went on to talk, and the father said a few things to us. The translator asked him, how are you feeling? And the man said, I'm happy. I feel very blessed that we're safe, and I'm able to feed my family what little that I have, and I just feel very blessed right now. And we asked him, why do you feel blessed? Like, why would you say that you're happy? I mean, the situation this man is in, this is the worst possible circumstance a human being could be living in. And he said to us, if I had to go through this, if I had to take my family through this again, so that another family did not have to, I would do it all over again. And that was just that really hit home with me.
That, I mean, both of your stories, I think, really send a very powerful message, saying that that boy shared his ultimate treasure with you, who he did not know, who are not part of the camp. But sometimes people who have the most little, or the little amount, they're willing to share all of it.
Yeah.
And what you just said is they're not only willing to share all of it, but they're also grateful for what they have. And in that, they also find happiness,
Right.
which is amazing as teenagers and as young as you are, that you have been exposed to that kind of experience and that kind of love and happiness that both of you saw. So what would you say to, I mean, you have younger siblings.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to talk to them, and I'm sure they experience this, but they're probably younger to really absorb some of these, nuggets and wisdom. How do you explain it to them about your experience and what they saw? How did they experience it?
Also, I've been rambling. You want to say something, Daanish?
Sure. So, I mean, I've talked to them, of course. I've talked to Zara. She's 5, and she's been to the camps 2 years in a row, and she's seen everything. But to hear her perspective on it is a bit different. What she always tells to me, so we were preparing for the trip within the past couple weeks, and so she's been saying, are you ready to go back and help the refugees? She's excited. She wants to go back. So having her exposed at a young age, especially the feeling of giving somebody gives her a good feeling, of course, and so she wants to go back. She has the craving to go back and help them, and so
Right.
especially having that, she's only 5,
Right.
So that only sets the path for future years to come.
Right.
Right.
So-
And so, I mean, also actually, so Zara, so our younger siblings, so Ilion and Zara. Ilion he's 10 years old, and Zahra, she's 5. At the time, they were a year younger. Last year we went in December, January.
December, yeah.
And one of the places that we stopped and visited was actually an orphanage in Afnaan, and it was an orphanage for these refugees, for the refugee children who were fortunate enough to be able to get into the orphanage. It was obviously a very highly vetted process, but these kids, they would come and they would spend the day at the orphanage, getting schooled and whatnot. And the one day we went there, we brought like inflatable balls with us. We brought some toys with us. We brought some stuff, and we played with the children there. The kids their ages range from like 2 years old to like 6, 7.
All orphans.
All orphans, yeah. And Zara, she was playing with them, and she had so much fun with them. She called them all her new friends, and she was having so much fun. And then we had to leave. And then she realized like what was really happening. And I don't, obviously I can't, sit down with her and have a very like, deep conversation. She's 5 years old, right? She can barely sit down. But I feel like, when she gets older, she's going to grow up understanding all this because she's
being
really exposed to it.
That is planting the seed at an early age, and hopefully it will bloom into something beautiful. We don't have a lot of time left, but before I finish off the show, you're planning on going again.
We are.
And for how long?
So we're going to be going for a week. We're actually leaving tomorrow. Yeah. We're going to be gone from the entire Thanksgiving week. So tomorrow's 17th through the 24th, I believe. 20.
And how many bags are you bringing with you this time?
27.
27 bags again.
Mm-hmm.
And going to the same camps?
Right. Going to a few range more of camps, probably a couple more. And so actually this time we didn't gather a lot of stuff from our school. We actually ended up gathering, there were a lot of congregations on Nantucket that we actually got help from, and they collected a lot of stuff. A lot of the schools there, they did an amazing job. They really reached out, and it was really a whole community effort. And they're really making an impact. A lot of people say, Nantucket's a small little bubble of a place. Well, they're really reaching out, and they're expanding out of that. And, it's great to see that, just a small community can have such a big impact.
Well, thank you for joining us. I wish you luck on your journey.
Thank you.
And I hope you come back on our show and share some more stories that you have visiting this refugee camp. What I would like to know is if you see those kids again. I want to know how well did they keep that soccer ball. It'd be very interesting. If not, let me know. I'll send a soccer ball with you just to give it to those kids. Before we finish off the show today, I hope that you had a great experience listening to these stories of these 2 young teenagers who happened to be Muslim, who took being a volunteer to heart, not only locally, but then went internationally and took care of refugees and really learned a lot. The wisdom and the nuggets of goodness that they brought back with them and are able to talk to their siblings and their community is just powerful. And I really hope that we all find some motivation and inspiration from these 2. So thank you for joining us. And please keep watching Perspectives.